I don't have any friends, and you probably don't either. That sounds mean, but there is a lot of people in Ponytown that either don't have friends or want to be alone in Ponytown. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have a list of about 11 things here that is going to help you play this game while also being alone. Which, I say 10 to 11 because the first thing is just don't play the game. Just leave the game, just don't play the game. You can still have fun with Ponytown without ever playing it because you have the character editor. So if you go to the character editor, you can obviously make a ton of characters. Depending on the tier supporter you have, you can make up to 1,200 characters. In my instance, I can make 1,200. But for you, pretty sure you start off with like a couple hundred or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what you start off with, but you could still have a ton of fun making characters. And if you wanted to delete them later, you technically can, because you can also save them by exporting as PNG by just clicking this. And there's tons of fun you can have in that. But of course, you probably actually want to play the game. So if you want to play the game while still being alone, there is a ton of things you can do. First off, you can click this arrow here underneath the play, or right next to the play on blah 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 server, and scroll on there to look for the least populated server. For example, we have one right here, Safe Russian 3, that has 77 players in it. And we have one right above it that has 87 players in it, some that have a little bit more, some that have an insane amount like 2,699, or an insane amount like 4,050 or 4,045. It's changing right now. So if you wanted to play a less populated server, definitely do that because it will help you play the game more often without running into players. For the sake of this video, we're just going to be on a rather populated server like the 18+ English server, and I'm going to go through the rest of my list. So once you're actually in-game, if you want people to not mess with you, you can click this thing in the top right called the status. It's probably going to be green by default. You can click that and then hit the busy one, the one that's red. Just hit busy, and then that will switch your status to red, to busy, to do not disturb, or whatever. And then anytime someone hovers over your character, they will see that red icon and know that you are busy or don't want to be disturbed. This will help. It won't help a ton because, let's be honest, not everyone's going to hover over your character before they interact with you. Just like this. See, this person has a do not disturb, and apparently they're chasing after someone. So they're doing the opposite of do not disturb. They're disturbing other people. Kind of ironic when you think about it. That's Ponytown for you. Another thing you can do is you can actually set yourself to offline. So if you do have friends in Ponytown, but you don't want to hang out with them, maybe you're angry at them, or you're mad at them, or you're trying to give them the silent treatment, or if you're worried about them finding you on your minimap or something like that, or anything else, you can go up here to the top where your friends list is, and then hit the gear icon, and then hit show as offline. Now, I will be like these other people, like the Skella here, or the Pepper, or the Lunar Glow. They're grayed out, they're dark, it looks like they haven't been on in a while. In fact, after about an hour, it'll say seen 1 hour ago or whatever to people like Snow Blanket, and the person smiled there as well. That is another great way to keep yourself away from other players, because it's not going to help a ton. It's only going to mostly help with your friends. Obviously, you are online. Obviously, people are going to see you, but your friends won't see you as online, so they won't go looking for you. Just probably don't go where they usually hang out at, because then they're going to see you and they're going to be like, what's up with that? That's kind of weird. That's kind of wacky. What are you doing? That's kind of weird. The next thing you can do, and this is actually probably the most effective method in the entire list here, that is to basically just go to your island. It's going to have a ton of people, so it's going to be scary at first if you're scared of people, but you're going to have to power through all of these players and come on over here past the person advertising a strip club and go onto this boat with sails and make your way to your island, where you have free reign to do whatever you want. No one will ever get here unless you invite them to your party or something like that, which, again, if you want to play alone, or if you want to play with select few people, that's obviously an option. But if you really want to play alone, just stick to your party island, or stick to the main menu where you can edit your character, because if you wanted to play in-game, maybe listen to some of the music or something like that, you can also edit the character from your island. So you can just click that and then hit the pencil button there, and then you can edit the character, make new characters from here. Obviously, you have the actual island itself, so you could just, let's just clear the map here, just for instance here. You can clear the map or something like that and then get started building. You can throw in some purple carpet for some reason, or a fireplace, and before you know it, you have something very strange and wacky, and I don't know what this is, but it's something. Just pretend it's something cool and wacky, and you can save up to 3 of these without being a supporter. Obviously, the more higher up you are on the supporter tier list, like supporter 2, 3, 4, but you'll also have more map slots that you can save and everything like that, and that is obviously really fun, especially if you are just playing alone, and if that's all you're going to do is build islands, it's probably worth it. Go to your island. Literally no one will ever be able to bother you except maybe your friends, because they will be able to whisper you. Again, this is the best way you're going to get alone in Ponytown. So next up, and again, this is going to be really helpful if you are a supporter, because this is going to deal with the minimap a little bit. You can obviously look at the minimap, and all these little dots are a player. For example, if I just come right over here, here's a person, and that is their dot right there. It's clearly the same person. As you can see, I'm yellow, that person's white. Every single one of these little white specks is a player. Obviously, if you have this minimap, it's going to be super helpful for you to avoid players, because you're going to see where all of them are. You can obviously zoom out and everything like that and go all over and stuff like that. But if you don't have access to this minimap, I'm going to give you some tips on locations on the map where people usually just don't go for some reason. Obviously, as you can see on the minimap, you're going to want to avoid anywhere near spawn or anywhere in the kind of center area of the map. But let's start with the southern half of the map, because the bottom half of the map actually has the least amount of players on it. Usually at any given time, players usually just aren't on the bottom half of the map. Again, we can look at the mini-map itself to verify this. There's not that many people here. Obviously, there's still quite a few, but if we scroll up, there's a lot more in the northern to middle area of the map. Comparison, there's basically no one here. So this pretty much gives you free reign of the entire bottom half of the map. Obviously, you're going to probably have to play this by ear, and it's going to change depending on the day or whatever else like that. But for the majority of the time, the bottom of the map is not going to have too many players, especially the further down you go, because like if I go like way down here in like the ocean or something like that, basically no one's going to hang out in the ocean. You know what I'm saying? If you are going to hang out somewhere in the middle section of the map, I recommend a couple of places. One over here, kind of in this area right here. It's kind of, I kind of refer to it as the gate pool. It's kind of its own little thing. There's a whole video about that and everything, but that's besides the point. This little area here, maybe a little bit up, a little bit beyond this. This little area, basically this whole right half of the map is also kind of usually less occupied, especially if you come up here to this little section. Almost never anyone comes through here. Basically, no one is ever right here to the right of the huge lake. So if you want to go to the middle section of the maps for some reason, those are two great places. But there's also another section of the map you can go to if you love to hang out at the middle section of the map. On the opposite side of the map in the middle, this is also another place that people usually don't hang out too often. It's kind of strange given what it is. It's kind of like a whole like little patio area that has like different places for you to literally just hang out at. There's one person here right now, and oftentimes, at least in the 18+ server, there's not usually too many people here. But there's another section of the map you can go to that's also kind of in the middle that basically never has anyone, and that's these two boats over here. There's basically never anyone over here on these boats or in this section. Of course, this is in the water, but again, if you really want to be alone, no one's probably ever going to come over here. Although, if someone does pass by, they might bother you because they might be like, why the heck is this person sitting in the middle of the ocean way off here in the left side of the map? Now, if you are trying to play on the northern half of the map, the best places for that, I would say, is this top left area. You kind of have this little area here. It's kind of like a little Pirate's Cove a little bit. And then this section where we started the video at. And of course, this whole corner here with all these bushes here that usually produce roses in summer and stuff like that. This section, again, we'll probably have a few people. A lot of the times these people are AFK or they're just hanging out with their own little friends or something like that. But this little corner is probably the best place to go to when you're in the northern half of the map, except the caves. Because as it appears there is quite a few people in here right now, it is a bit of a wild card. I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, people usually don't really go to the caves. There's probably a couple of reasons for that. One, people usually just don't hang out in the caves, so it creates an infinite loop of people being like, well, I would go to the caves, but people usually don't hang out in the caves, so I'm not going to go there because I want to interact with people. So you don't go to the caves, which then creates more people saying, well, people usually don't go to the caves, so I'm not going to go to the caves. So you get kind of a loop there, but also because it just sucks. If you want to walk around in the caves, it just sucks, genuinely. As you can see here, I'm literally just walking diagonally here, and the screen is kind of shaking a little bit. It's kind of hard to notice. You kind of get a better feel of it if you're actually doing it yourself. But in places like this, it just kind of shakes quite a bit, especially if you're going around this area right here. As you can see, I just walked past that. It shakes quite a bit. Anytime you go off these like dark gray bits here, you kind of shake a little bit because you're actually going up a little bit. You're like going up in elevation, and so every single time you go over one of these, you get like a small bump, and because there's so many of them, you kind of get this shaking that happens quite a bit when you're in the caves, and that gets kind of annoying really fast. But of course, the caves is a place you can go, just sit at a random spot, and there's usually not— holy fucking shit, what the hell is happening over here? This is perfect, because this actually leads us into the next thing, because this thing is so terrifying. I want to hide behind something, which is another way to help you be alone in Ponytown. So if you wanted to hide, maybe say from this forgotten god, I guess, you can just run and hide behind, I don't know, stalagmites or something like that. There's a lot of other places you can hide in the game. I made a video, I think, about hiding spots for like hide and seek or something like that. If you wanted to check it out, you can check it out too, and it's of course there. And carry on. So that's obviously something else you can do, is you can kind of hide behind odd objects, items, things like that. See, this person's over here, they're hiding behind like a barrel. There's a couple things you can do like that. That's not going to be super perfect, because someone might find you hiding behind it and think you're doing something and might interact with you or something like that. But technically you could just hide behind something, and that would technically decrease the amount of people that would find you. Number one is you can just start hiding people. This is obviously something I highly do not recommend, but technically you could just start clicking on random people and then clicking in the top left and then doing hide for 24 hours or just block. Just block them, and then it will give you the options to block them permanently or whatever. And you could just start doing that to basically everyone you run into, and then you would be alone, because whenever you hide someone, for example, this person here, let's just hide them for 15 minutes for an example. Hide them, poof. What? Oh. There it goes. They disappear, and they can't see me, I can't see them, which means we'll never interact, and I'll never have to worry about whoever that person is. Of course, this is something I don't recommend for a number of reasons. One, it's kind of mean to hide people for no reason, especially if you're doing it permanently. But two, it's kind of impractical. You would have to hide thousands of people, because even if you hid everyone on the server, the next day when you played, there are probably 1,000 more people that you haven't hid on that day. So you would have to hide tons and tons and tons of people to have any actual practical use out of this, and because you have to hide so many people for it to have any use, it's basically useless. But technically it is a way to help you be alone. If you do find an area that has quite a few more people than you want but doesn't have too many people, you could hide those people and then take your pictures or whatever else it is that you want to do for being alone for some reason. But the last thing is to do some kind of camo. So if we leave the caves and explore a little bit, we might find someone that is using it. Oh, right here. They're literally flying right next to me. And so as you can see, this person is the same color as the grass, and so likely they're moving to a place somewhere in the grass to lay down, which would then basically make themselves invisible. You could do this with the dirt, you can do this with sand, you can technically even do this with the docks. I've seen people do it with the docks before as well. So as you can see, I'm the same color as the grass. I basically become invisible. Obviously, you can still see my shadow, and of course you can see that one green pixel there, but that's because of a joke. That's besides the point. If I was fully green like that, you basically wouldn't see me unless you hovered over me, and that creates a whole thing of like, it's kind of harder to see you, and therefore you might be better off hiding that way, and that might make it to where people interact with you less because they're not finding you, they can't see you, and so you're alone, and that might help you be alone. That one, of course, is also not super great. Those last few here on the list, you're going to get a lot of mixed results with. The best thing I would recommend to do is to literally just be on your party island and just hang out on your party island, make your characters, edit your islands. Those are the two main things that you can do in Ponytown anyway, so I don't know what else you're going to be doing on the main map if you want to be alone, but those are a lot of different ways that you can be alone in Ponytown, a lot of ways that can help you be alone in Ponytown. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope if you wanted to be alone, it helps you be alone in Ponytown. Now, if you want to be the opposite of alone in Ponytown, I would recommend doing the opposite of everything I just said in this video, such as going to the middle section of the map, the like top section of the map, that kind of stuff, hanging out in these huge crowded areas, you know, that kind of stuff. But if you want me to go more in depth on how to make friends or something else like that, or hang out with more people, or be around more people in Ponytown, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll make something like that. But for now, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that. Because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself. And I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.